Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to US Election Hub, and today we're going to be doing a mock 2020 presidential election between Bernie Sanders on the Democratic ticket versus Donald Trump on the Republican ticket, who is also running for re-election in the year 2020. And so there's a lot of misconceptions that I think a lot of people believe. A lot of people believe 2020 is going to be a Democratic sweep, and I wanted to clarify some things because I wanted to give my take on Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Now, obviously, people are conducting polls, and polls this far out of the election are really hard to believe. But I'll just go ahead and show you guys one of them. For example, it says, according to November 16th to 19th of the month of November, Sanders currently leading Trump 42 to 36, which is actually not really that big of a difference. You know, Donald Trump would be losing by 8 percentage points. And this is just a prediction 3 years out. So that's actually surprisingly closer than most people would have imagined. And I think this is probably one of the biggest topics. Most people are envisioning a presidential ticket like this. They want Bernie Sanders to run. A lot of Democrats do. He is basically appealing to the progressive wing of the party. But a lot of people say that he's going to basically do a sweep on Donald Trump. And let's see what's going to happen based on current polling, Donald Trump's tax bill that's supposedly to be passed very soon. A lot of people say, well, it's not passed yet, but it was approved in the Senate. And now it's going to go back to the House, then back to the Senate. And then after that, it's going to go to the president to get for a formal signature. And if all that happens, obviously it'll become law and everything will be good for the Republicans, according to what the Republicans say, and Democrats say the opposite, but we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and just fill in the Republican states that we know are solid Republicans. So we're going to go ahead and fill those in. Here we go. I know the Democrats have made some strides in Oklahoma, but chances are it's not going to go anywhere at this rate. So Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama is still going to stay Republican. We got Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and also fill in the Democrats as well. So we got Washington, Oregon, California, as you would imagine. New Mexico, Latino turnout is probably not going to give Donald Trump a close lead. If there was like a Latino Republican candidate or someone like Marco Rubio, this would be possible, but that's not the case in this election. Colorado, we're going to go ahead and leave that blank for now. Texas, obviously, probably still going to be Republican. I know Democrats think they can do better here, but if it's a progressive like Bernie Sanders, and he's not even a progressive necessarily, he leans pretty far on a lot of his policy issues, far left, than moderate Democratic issues for the Democratic Party. So chances are he would not win with a good margin in Texas. Alaska red, Hawaii solid blue. Virginia, right here, Virginia is leading blue, and I think it's going to stay blue. New York, blue, his home state of Vermont. And let's go ahead and give him the East Coast, as that is pretty solid blue for the most part. I don't see any flipping going on in the future. And same with DC. DC has, I don't think, ever been won with a Republican for, I think, a long time. Maybe even in its whole history. So now let's go ahead and break it down. Now, one thing I want a lot of people to understand is while Bernie Sanders is leading right here, we need to understand a couple of things. Oh, I forgot to give him Illinois. But one more thing we need to understand is that Bernie Sanders appeals to millennial voters, the young voters who do have a lot of voting population, but they don't come out to vote. He could get these people out to vote. Another thing he appeals to is the working class. So all the people Donald Trump won, he has the same appeal to these working class voters. Now, that's actually a good thing for the Democrats and Bernie Sanders himself, but you need to understand that his major electorate for the working class is white working class, and then he has millennials, which obviously are a little more diverse, but he really is not a moderate Dem, and he opposes a lot of moderate Dem policies. You know, he says like they're corporate. He attacked Hillary Clinton in 2016 for a lot of her decisions she's made by being an establishment member. So things like saying, oh, North Carolina or Florida are going to like flip entirely for the Democrats is just odd. It just doesn't make sense to me. And so let's just go ahead and understand what Bernie Sanders could gain. So first of all, Arizona, I think Donald Trump's going to retain that. There's still a lot of red there, and I think it's going to be perfectly fine. Now, Minnesota was won by Hillary Clinton, and if Bernie Sanders was won, then chances are he's going to get Minnesota. Now, the big question right here is, will he win the Rust Belt? And I'm only talking about Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And the reason why I'm going to automatically give Ohio to red is because Ohio was won by Donald Trump by over 13 percentage points against Hillary Clinton. 13 percentage points makes this a solid Republican state. As much as Bernie Sanders would even the margins out, maybe like Donald Trump leading by 1% or Bernie Sanders leading by 1%, chances are Donald Trump's going to come out on top. Same with Indiana, home state of Vice President, and Iowa, which has been leaning further red. I recently read an article that said Iowa Republicans are actually making a lot of ground in the state. I know it voted for Barack Obama twice, but the thing is, Iowa is actually starting to lean much more red, and it might actually not be feasible for Democrats to try to win here anymore. Now, given that Ohio is technically part of the Rust Belt, although Ohio was won by bigger margins, the other Rust Belt states were not, and chances are Michigan will flip because it is currently not, like, the approval ratings are down across the Rust Belt. And even if the tax bill passes, against someone like Bernie Sanders, he's probably going to take the Rust Belt with him. Now, New Hampshire, Donald Trump I actually do believe that Donald Trump does well in New Hampshire. He only lost to Hillary Clinton by 4,000 votes, but Bernie Sanders' stance on the pharmaceutical industry is a really strong one, and that's going to help him win New Hampshire. If Donald Trump was against any generic Democrat, he would win New Hampshire for sure. Georgia is not going to be competitive for Democrats until 2024, so I believe it'll still be a solid Republican for now. Colorado, chances are Donald Trump's not going to win there because they have a lot of pro-left-leaning stances that require compromise, and Donald Trump's not going to compromise there. Nevada is an interesting one. I'll come back to that right now, but let's go to Florida. The thing about Bernie Sanders is he's only one electoral vote away from winning right now. And if you take a look at this, Bernie Sanders probably would not win the state of Florida. And let me explain. Florida, it is not the same population as the working class and the millennials. They are a different population. And if he cannot get out the ethnically diverse vote like Hillary Clinton, when he was in the 2016 primary, Bernie Sanders won overwhelmingly young people and white people, but he did not win minorities as well. And if some other Democrat strips these minorities or hurts him in the primary process, chances are that Donald Trump could retain the state of Florida. And so if Florida goes, I also believe North Carolina will as well. North Carolina he won the state by 3 percentage points, which is a pretty decent margin. Obviously, that just is slightly Republican, but yet again, I think that's still pretty good. Now, I do believe that Bernie Sanders could come and win Nevada. This one is honestly going to be close, but I'm just going to give it to Bernie Sanders because I think a lot of people would hate me if I didn't. And so Maine 2 electoral votes would go to the Democrats, or 3 of them, and 1 to the Republicans. And so this would be the final electoral map. Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but really, Bernie Sanders is not going to win in a landslide. He'll retain the Rust Belt back, but the Republicans will make it really competitive. And according to this map, Bernie Sanders wins 278 to Donald Trump's 260. Donald Trump does not get reelected. Bernie Sanders gets his first term in office. I believe he'll be like 78 at that time. So let me know what you guys think of this election type. It is definitely different than a lot of the ones on YouTube. And I'm being quite honest. I think a lot of people misjudge these elections. And quite frankly, I think this is probably the best option. Democrats have a lot of infighting within their party. They can't agree whether they like the establishment or the center Democrat, the moderate Democrat, or they like this or the progressive left-leaning Democrat, or someone who's like Bernie Sanders, who's not even necessarily a progressive, who leans further left on the party spectrum. He's an independent, and honestly, he has a lot of ideas that a lot of people would attack him on socialism-wise. So we'll wait and see what happens if the Democrats with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But this is the final map in my opinion, and that's going to be it. Let your comments down below, and talk to you guys later. Bye.